Plot: Going Blind. 2010. Going Blind. Coming out of the dark about vision loss tells the stories of everyday people and their heroic efforts they make to live in today's world with vision loss. Peabody Award-winning director Joseph Lovett tells this story with a very personal appeal as he reveals his diagnosis of glaucoma, a disease that robs 4.5 million people worldwide of their vision. Voiceover off.
When you're blind and watching movies, what will you find? A blind superhero whose superpowers are acting like he's not blind. A sighted actor over dramatically touching people's faces. Or maybe the whole joke is that they're bumping into different places. A spectacular, macular degeneration. Tunnel vision to your television. And do they off this movie with audio descriptions? They're movie buffs who know their stuff. You'll be thoroughly entertained. Join Sky and Melissa throughout film history and Citizen White Cane.
Hello. And welcome to Citizen White Cane, the podcast where envisioning our ideal selves through blind representation on screen is more important than actually having vision. My name is Sky McLeod.
I'm Melissa Bukta.
And we are talking about a documentary today,
Yes.
Going Blind, which we already did, so we're an expert on that.
Hey, yeah, we're...
But it is about the, I guess, sort of the fight of losing your vision to glaucoma if your choice is to fight.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd use fight. I don't really want to use struggle either. I think coping might be a better word.
Well, it's
Maybe.
kind of like a war between, well, I don't know why I have all these fighting metaphors, but like he is trying to both cope, but at the same time sort of fighting against vision. Not vision, sorry, vision loss.
Yeah.
Like, he goes, I mean, like, the filmmaker is going blind, so that's cool, I guess. Joseph Lovett is the name of the documentarist, and he is going blind.
Yes, he is, he's dealing with glaucoma.
Right. And so it's kind of, I guess, his way of coping with it is also to, on top of, like, we see his own journey, but we get to see a lot of other people who are blind, who've kind of already gone through the process for the most part of going blind.
And how they're living fulfilled, normal, everyday lives.
Yeah.
I think I want to just get this out of the way now so I don't keep harping on it throughout the entire conversation. But this does come from a very privileged place. I mean, he's able to have like all of these surgeries. He lives in a very nice apartment with his partner in New York, and I'm not knocking him for any of this. Like he's a Peabody Award journalist. You know, that's amazing. That's incredible. But I kind of wished that we could have more documentaries or more representation of people of color, or people who can't just say, oh, I can get an experimental surgery, or I can be in this experimental trial to try and get my glaucoma under control.
Right. It is a weird dissonance, because part of me just felt bad for him, like that his privilege was kind of pushing him into this thing where he could never truly like cope with the fact that he's just going blind, and you just might as well just live as a blind person,
right?
You know,
right.
Like why fight it? Like, what's the point? And it almost, like, to me, I felt bad, like the money that he had to do all this stuff, because I was thinking that as well. And then I was also like, this is ultimately just hurting him, because it's so much harder to cope. Like, it's just not what I would wish on any blind person. Like that idea, because he is just like constantly throughout the whole movie, he's constantly doing all these different surgeries and traveling and doing surgeries. And it's just like so much is going into this, and he'll do one surgery and then there'll be an after effect. And I'm like, why is no one just sitting down and be like, hey, being blind's okay, dude? I mean, like, because it's what he's trying to do, but it still doesn't like fully connect that, like.
Yeah, I mean, because most of the people he meets, like you said, have gone blind or are going blind, and they're fully capable and coping, you know, and just doing their thing. And then, you know, he meets the architect near the end of the movie, and this gentleman is another guy who is undergoing treatments to keep his vision.
Well, he has age-related macular degeneration.
Thank you. Yeah. Age, yes. And I definitely don't want to sit here and be like, you shouldn't fight it. You should just, you know, just lose your vision. It you know, whatever. Even though I think that that's an easier thing, I still, you know, I mean, if I really started experiencing rapid vision loss, you know, tomorrow, I'm still going to be upset and disoriented because now I just have to rethink about how I live.
Yeah, it's not easy to go blind.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess there's a part of me that does rely on vision, does understand where he's coming from. I mean, he's, you know, in his prime, he has his career.
Well, and he's like, he has that problem of like, unlike both of us, he learned how to drive and everything before. Like he just had so much of his life was able to get a career and learn how to drive and all this stuff that he did before losing his vision. And so I think that can be almost, I think that's a curse in a lot of ways to being blind. Like, I don't wish that I would never want to be that as a blind person, because I think that like that's a lot harder, because then you have to like give up. Though, I mean, it's better for if you want to get benefits and stuff to like, because if you lose your job to disability, then they give you the money you got. Right. Whereas if you're born blind, you're truly fucked. Yeah. So I mean, in that way, it's good, but that shouldn't be the case. Like, like it is definitely, I think it is psychologically a lot harder, and so I do understand that. But I also think that the like constant surgeries just have so much of like a damaging effect, because it's just like you can never adapt to it. Like no. Like, because I always felt like going blind was way harder than being blind. Like being blind is totally okay, because you have an amount of vision, you know what it is, you know what you're able to do, you know how to cope, and then every single day you're getting to like a happier place in your life. Whereas like going blind, you're constantly needing to readjust to it. You never know, like today, should I be doing this? Like he's biking and I'm like, don't just stop biking, because you could die. Like biking, you can die, it's dangerous.
Biking and driving. And he's just like, I just drove down to New Jersey. And I'm like, are you just really? No, don't. Oh my God, because he's just like, I've lost most of my central vision. What are you doing?
I know. It's so, it freaked me out. I was really upset. But it's like, it's hard to give up those things.
Yes.
So I think that's the problem of like, I think about that too with like people who have seizures, but they're not common enough that they can get, because it's like 6 months after you have a seizure, you can't drive. But after the 6 months, they let you drive, which I'm just like, I don't know, maybe she's just, I mean, just join us. Like, we are happy to have all the epileptic people in our camp. Like, we can all chill, but like, no problem with that. But like, some people just are not going to be able to drive, and I always worry about like friends who like have had seizures, because they can come back, and like it's just like you never know. And like with losing vision, it's the same thing. Like, what if this is a really bad vision day and you don't find out until you're driving? Like, it's that's
what
scary.
happens. I mean, what if you get pulled over, you know, and you have to try and explain to the officer,
like, I'm going blind, but I decided I still want to drive.
But but I'm totally fine. I guess it's a good driving day. I'm like, Then what happens? It's
and the bicycle is just like you can so like I get worried just about people on bicycles that could see it can be dangerous given cars, and in this country we don't have very good bike lanes. Like,
no, I mean even in Portland, where bike lanes are prevalent, people ride on the sidewalk. There are accidents.
Well, there are accidents. I mean, it's still like. You know, I do find some comfort knowing when my friends are biking that they are sighted, because I'm like, okay, well, you would have more ability to bike than I do. Like, you're probably safer because you can see. But, like, I think it's just one of those things where there's at a certain point you're like, is your vision more important than your life? Is kind of what that feels like at a certain point, because it's just like, you are asserting that you still have some vision by biking, but you can also die. Like, and so it's just like, is it worth risking your life? And is it worth also the psychological trauma of like every night going to bed thinking like, if I'm going to bike tomorrow, this could be the day that I die. Like, you know, like, and it just seems so burdensome.
Well, and I mean, and I'm sure night biking and night driving are totally off the table now for him.
I would hope so.
I don't 100% know, but I would think they are, considering how his eyes work.
Because they talk a lot about it in the movie, that what is basically happening is his optic nerve is what is most affected.
Yes.
And so it has a lot to do with like the ability to process what is coming in. So it's more the kind of, it's not fully cognitive because it's your optic nerve, but it's kind of like not just the like the retina is just basically like the camera projector thing.
Yeah, I mean,
or the lens, I guess.
This is an incredibly educational documentary. I learned so much about eyes and brains and about what these conditions actually are and how they actually affect your brain.
Because I've been doing a project where I've been reading a lot about like blindness and stuff, so I was like, yeah, I know this. Come on, guys, we all know this. But you're right. It is good to have that in there.
Yeah, I'm glad it's there. There's also really excellently done and accurate visual portrayals of what is going on with his eyes, or what someone with glaucoma might see, or what someone with cataracts might see, or
it's interesting. They did have, and actually the AMD one for the age, or is it ARMD? For some reason in my head it's just AMD for age-related macular degeneration. But that one actually, because I've seen so many diagrams and it always bothers me when they'll just have a black hole where your central vision is, and it's just like people do not understand what it actually is like to not have central vision. Like that's not what it looks like, and they did a better job of just kind of like blurring it. But it's still, I think it takes a lot of work. The experiential thing of vision is different than just like a camera filter for a shot, but I do think that like it is cool to get to see them trying to explain the different vision things. And I think it was just because I was been reading so much about it recently that I was like, okay, I get it, I want to see the people. But like you are correct, it is a cool thing to be in there.
And the people that he meets are so awesome. They're so fascinated. We meet an artist living in New York, and how she's doing art.
Who's named Jessica
therapy.
Jones, which is so distracting.
I'm
to
just
me.
like, oh my god, your name is Jessica Jones. That's amazing. It's the coolest name.
It made me sad though, because Jessica Jones is a very tragic character, the superhero one.
True.
But yeah, she was a lot less just overall triggering and depressing as a character.
There was no Purple Man that we had to deal with. So it was okay.
The most psychopathic David Tennant role of all time.
Such a good show though. Oh my god. But she's living in the city on her own. She has an awesome guide dog, and she is doing art therapy for kids with disabilities.
Yeah, and she was really cool. There was a lot of like talking about how she was inspirational, which made me a little sad.
That was a little cringy. It was a little.
It was like 2010. I think that there wasn't really. Not that right now anyone knows what to do for the most part. I mean, some people know what's the right way to portray disabled people, but sadly not that many.
Even she used, inspiring language to talk about her own kids, and I'm just kind of like,
I know. It was just kind of like a weird perpetuating it thing.
Right. Well, I mean, and it's not wrong to say you are inspired by someone or someone inspires you.
Right.
But it's
just used as a way of like, you wouldn't say that about an able child doing art.
Right, exactly.
And so then just by dint of their existence, just trying to, like, do what everyone else is doing makes them inspiring, is, like, says something about the society we live in, that it can't just be normal for people to do normal shit.
But, I mean, I was tearing up when she took her kids to the museum, and they got to go to the Egyptian gallery and touch all of this beautiful tactile art. I mean, I want to do that so
It made me
bad,
really sad, actually, because I, like, literally did, like, claymation stuff with kids, and even though they weren't blind kids, like, she was, like, teaching them clay, to make things with clay, and I actually was, like, got truly sad watching it, because I missed it so much. I was laid off from that job, and it was, like, something I loved so much. I miss it all the time. So that made me sad. But, but it is still a cool. I feel really bad for them now, I'm sure, because I think I looked up something in 2017. They said she was still working with kids and doing that stuff.
Cool.
So,
nice.
But I wonder now how COVID has affected
what she's doing now. Yeah. Well, I mean, she has her own art on the side. She does photography.
Yeah, but it's just sad because you can't teach kids as easily. No. But yeah, it's really a bummer, especially blind kids. Like that's even like if I couldn't teach kids, sighted kids, I can't imagine how you would teach blind kids over Zoom, like how to do like claymation. Or she doesn't do claymation; she just does clay sculptures. Yeah. But still, yeah, it's very.
It would be really difficult.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a sad that part may be sad, but just for missing getting to do that. But yeah, she was really cool. I think like. Yeah, all the people we meet actually, I really liked them. I think they kind of were like more able to handle the being blind in some way. Like I think they were all able to relate to him in different ways, which I thought was kind of cool. But some of them had like I think been in their blindness a little more, or had maybe just had a more unequivocal like you're blind now, and so they had like either went through a process of coping or were at least at a part where they could start coping. Whereas I never felt like he got to that place because he was just constantly trying to fix his eyes.
I think maybe he's slowly getting there because I think talking with each of these people, I would hope it would make him feel more comfortable and more accepting, and let him know that there's another side to this,
right? And that it's not
right. You're gonna lose something. Eventually, he will lose all of his vision. I personally, no matter how many surgeries happen, I think it's inevitable that he has or is going to lose most or all of his vision. But to know that there's another side to it, and that there's something waiting for you.
Right.
You don't have to stop doing what you love just because one of your senses is gone.
Right. And that that's why I felt so bad for him. Because I was just like, dealing with eye doctors is a fucking pain in the ass.
And that's like,
no one would want to do that.
That's like 40% of this documentary is
him
his
dealing
eye
with eye doctors. Yeah. And you're just like, and I was really worried about you for some of that stuff because it's very
I
graphic.
Can't tell you what happened because I started laughing uncontrollably and couldn't watch.
Yeah, well, I'll fill in the
good
the blind spots. That's what I might say. And then he was just constantly like going to the eye doctor, and then he would be like okay for 2 weeks, but then something would happen. He would both have worse vision and be in mass amounts of pain after like a couple weeks. So,
and then turn around and go through the whole thing again when you could just let your eyes do what they're gonna do.
Yeah, it is. It was, I think that was a very hard thing watching it to think about. Because I was like, why is meeting all these blind people who are coping not doing more to make you just kind of let go?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish I had a better answer, a more concrete answer, and
we can't really answer that question. I mean, it's I think, it is also difficult. Like, that is something that we don't have the perspective of what it is like to lose your vision when you're older and you've already had a lot of things that feel comfortable and that you do with your vision. And even though we actually had a lot of the people he talks to in the movie did lose their sight as adults.
Yeah.
Like, we really only...
Actually, yes.
We had, there's a father and son that both have...
albinism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they, I think both lost their sight at a young age, or started losing sight at a young age.
Well, Ethan is the son's name, but his dad talks about how he still has remnants of vision and that he'll use it to figure out like location,
right?
Like where spatially,
because it's similar to my vision. So, and I already knew that going in, like that a lot of time albinism causes similar to my vision problem. So, yeah, I related to that a lot.
But in every other respect of his aspect of his day, he's blind. I mean, well,
he can't do a lot. I related a lot to the way they were kind of framing it, though it made me really sad because I was like, he was like, yeah, when you were a kid, we'd be like asking about the colors of the cars and we're like monitoring it, and I was like, oh, that was not a thing that I got. Which, I think my family was very like they didn't know to look out for it. But I mean, at least my grandfather was blind, so I think it was something that like didn't definitely cross their mind. But there wasn't. But since he was never diagnosed in his lifetime, like I think they didn't know what to think, as in the same way that like having a diagnosis of what's going on probably helped in them like thinking, okay, like it's likely that he'll have eye problems, and so you can like monitor it from day one. But it did make, I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And it's so sweet that his dad has the same condition. It was just like,
yes, they can go through it together. They can be there for each other.
I was like, I want this. I like, because I never got to be my grandfather, and like it skips a generation most of the time. So I was like, oh, I want to have a kid that has Stargardts. That'd be so great. Like,
Actually, one of my first jobs when I was in college, working at the cafeteria, Gavin, he was the payroll guy. He had albinism and had much of the same vision like me.
Nice.
So, that's cool. It was nice to have someone on the inside who I could talk to, who knew what I was going through.
I love that. Oh, it's always great when there's another blind person.
He's a cool dude. Shout out to Gavin.
Nice. Yeah. But yeah, they were very cute. The two of them, I like them. I don't remember why. Right. He's the one. Ethan, the kid, is the one person, and probably. Do you remember his dad's name?
I don't think they ever said it. I don't.
They might not.
Or if they did, it was only said once.
But yeah, I think both of them went blind. At a younger age. So they I think are the only ones that did. I think everyone else was an adult when they went blind. Because we have a veteran from the Gulf, some part of the Gulf War,
from the Iraq War. I believe.
Yeah. And he. Is that like a rehabilitation, which was another interesting thing that I didn't realize, was that like blindness is one of the more common.
Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, I just assumed like obviously loss of life or loss of limbs, but I didn't even think, right.
It's actually really common.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really, because we've had a few movies where I was like, do people go blind from the war that often? Apparently, actually, they probably,
the answer's yes.
More often than like
it's
movies.
The flippin' shrapnel and everything. Yeah.
Because
that's how he
which
lost
I guess makes
his vision.
sense. They're just they're so sensitive, the area. Which is why, like, I do not I pity sighted people so worried about these little fragile ass shit, like little things that could get hurt so easily, and then you have to like completely change your whole life. It's much nicer to get to change your whole life from the beginning, and then just then it's fine. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah. But
well, we get to go out on a mobility lesson with him and
because he's
Joseph.
It's like no eyesight at all.
Right, and so he's got his cane and he's just doing his thing. But I loved his explanation about how people just stare at him because they think that he's lost, or they think that he doesn't know where the hell he is, and he's like, no, I know exactly where I am, but I have to figure it out first.
Right.
And this is my way. This is a blind man's way of walking the world and figuring it out. And
actually, do you want to do a clip?
Oh my God, yes.
That was a really good one that I thought about.
He has a really great explanation.
Yeah.
You were being great about telling me, what you were doing, but you lost your concentration having to spend time with me.
I did. I know, and I don't usually. I don't mess up very, very often. I'm gonna look lost. I'm blind. I mean, I'm tapping things and stuff, but I'm really not. That's what people who are sighted, who can see, they're like looking at you. They're like, what is he doing? He needs help.
Right, why is he tapping that building? Why is he turning around?
They have no understanding. They're not educated.
And you're just trying to orient yourself.
And I'm oriented. Yeah. You see me realign. I'll go back. I'll check it, and then I'll come back.
Steve approaches a diner and feels for the door.
This is the end point. This is where I was supposed to get.
It was just really nice to hear that explanation and have it worded so well. And I'm like, I'm going to use that.
I know.
When I'm on the streets, being looking at sighted people like I'm lost or like I'm being weird. I'm usually not.
Right. Well, I think that's the thing that's so hard to explain to people, because I think people they want to have something actionable, and you can always, I mean, like, you can ask someone if they need help, but
Sure, yeah.
but like it's hard because it's also like you should always ask before you help someone. Don't just do it when you haven't asked ever. But like also sometimes what looks like struggle to us, to someone, true sighted person, like he says, is not. And so it is really hard to like communicate when like you might actually be lost too. Like, because I think that part of it's just a weird, I don't know. I think about that a lot of like sometimes I'm at an airport and I can't find like because I can't find where I'm going, but I also can't find anyone to ask. And so you're in this, and that happens a decent amount of times, and it's like an impossible situation. But then also when I'm just walking on the street and I might look lost or run around, I am trying actively to like portray to sighted people that I'm not lost, and I don't want you to come up to me because I actually don't want to have to bother telling you like I don't need help.
I will usually take out my phone and like hold it in my hand and pretend to look at the phone, but what I'm actually trying to do is orient myself, because usually people will leave me alone. But before I got the cane, it was tremendously hard because I would stop and stare at a street sign or stare at a building or stare at a landmark or something, and people would I've had so many people come up to me and just, are you high? Like what's going on?
Just never assume someone's high, because you're probably a disabled person, and it's probably is going to ruin their entire week. Also, so like, don't do that.
If I were high, my eyes wouldn't be moving back and forth because the marijuana makes it so my optic nerve isn't as stressed out. That's my tell. My eyes are stone cold, not moving.
That's
so I'm definitely not high.
Yeah, it's like, wait, so if you are high, your eyes would be moving?
They don't move.
Or would it be moving?
They are steady. Right. Yeah. They look like quote unquote, but actually I don't want to say normal. They look like eyes without nystagmus, which is what I have.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it just relaxes everything. So my optic nerves don't have to work as hard.
If you're high.
If I'm high.
Yeah.
Now, I can't see any better, but I feel better. I'm not in constant I'm not in pain, which is nice.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that yeah. I mean, also it's just like there's so many reasons why that's just a shitty thing to do, to assume anything about someone, but also like I think it is a really hard thing because there are like disabled people just have to do things differently, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
and we also don't give a fuck that we have to do things differently, but it's just very hard when we have to constantly explain to other people that this is not a problem for us.
Well, it's just and being in it even happens in like inclusive space, and it's only inclusive until someone does something so different that then people are like, wait, why aren't you doing it this way?
Right.
One is, oh man, I went with my cousin to karaoke at this really cute little place, which I'm sure has been lost to COVID, unfortunately. But it was this really cute little place, and their screen, I love karaokeing, but I can only go a few places because
I can go to voice box and that's it, because I can get all right up in the screen space.
Yeah, you got to get nose to nose with it. Well, I didn't know the KJ very well, so I wasn't really have to ask like, hey, can you just change your entire setup?
You got to befriend your
me?
KJ and make it accessible.
And back home, I am friends with a couple of the KJs back home, so like it's no problem. Anyway, I decided it would be easier if I looked at the lyrics for whatever song I was singing on my phone, and I was like, no worries, I can keep up with this and listen to the music. It's fine. Well,
you can.
I can't. It didn't work. It was very humiliating. But what was worse was the people in the crowd kept screaming, look at the screen, the words are on the screen.
Yeah, that's why I would never do that, because that's exactly what I envisioned it would happen.
What the hell are you doing? Why? And
you're like, do I have to come in and start by saying, first of all, this is inaccessible to me, so I'm already annoyed, but also now I have to look at my screen. I am blind. If you yell at me to look at the screen, I can't. And so that's fuck you.
Yeah, so I the song ended and I got out of there and I sat back down with my cousin and I'm just like, well, I tried and it didn't work. And she's like, yeah, I could tell. So
That's like a terrible experience, though.
It was pretty terrible, but
it's so
she's
unvalidating.
Yeah, she's friends with the KJ though, so we did get the setup changed
That's
around,
good.
which was really nice. But
yeah,
I went back to the bar to get a drink after it had happened, and this guy, and of course I had my cane by then, and this guy stops me and he's like, "Oh my God, I didn't know." And it was like, you were one of the ones that were yelling because it was a small place, and I was like, that was you, and he's like, yeah, and he's like, I just didn't know. Like, I didn't know. I just thought you...
That's why I never yell at someone because they're doing something differently.
Yeah, and I'm just like, no, it's, it's fine, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I got my drink. And I was sitting at the back at the table with my cousin. We had that discussion. I'm like, they say it's inclusive space, but when, I did that, I had an entire audience screaming at the top of their lungs at me. And I'm just like
you're stupid and you don't know the screen is there.
Right. And I'm like, oh boy, this makes me never want to come back to this place anymore. Yeah. And I didn't.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's the problem. And like, I get so frustrated. It's so hard with this stuff because it's just not talked about. People just always don't assume that you have a disability. Like, so much of my life, I'm like, someone will be mad about something. I'm like, it doesn't seem like it's affecting you. And also, this is a disability that could explain why they're acting this way. Right. So maybe they have a disability and you're the asshole.
Yeah. Well, and Joseph talks about a little bit about like passing. And some of the folks that he interviews talk about passing, and it's like you can pass until you can't.
The woman, was her name Pat?
I think so.
I think, she worked at the VA, right?
Yes. Yeah. That was her whole job. And she is now.
And she was so sweet.
Yeah.
My heart broke for her. Like,
oh my God, I loved her.
She was such a sweet person. And it just made me sad because I'm like, oh, you are like the kind of just sweet person that just like that blind people are, where you feel like you can't ask for anything, like, and it just made me so sad because she like just hid her blindness and like worked in hospitals. So like as someone who, I mean, honestly though, because of COVID, and right after getting my job, I haven't really had to do too much of this, but my job technically is also in hospitals, and that is the biggest fear of mine, is that like they're the stupidest designed places. They're extremely inaccessible for blind people. And she was describing, oh God, now I feel like we should play that clip too. That was a good one too.
Clip. It's a really good clip.
It's really good. Okay.
You were reluctant at first to learn new technology, and
I was,
and to learn.
I was
to take rehabilitative training.
Yes, I was.
So what changed?
The fear. It's a fear factor, and when you have that fear factor there, and you don't go beyond that fear, it really does keep you back. It keeps you in a holding place.
Pat crosses a busy New York street, unassisted.
Willing to carry a cane, but not yet willing to use it regularly, Pat gets into embarrassing situations.
When I go to another hospital, I'm lost. North, east, west, south. Go over here, go over there. And they're telling me all these places. I'm like, I don't know where I am. I get up the elevator, they say go down to the left, go this way, go that way, and I can't see the sign, so I'm really at a disadvantage.
What is it about the cane that makes people not want to use it?
It's not the cane itself, it's what it represents. It's telling people that I'm blind. I feel vulnerable that someone's going to want to hurt me, rip me off.
And has that been your experience? Has that happened to you?
No, it's never happened.
Is part of it wanting to pass as a sighted person?
Definitely. It's wanting to pass. Wow, that's deep. That's really deep. Because you do it, even from children, we want to be normal. We want to look like everybody else. We want to blend in. I don't want to be identified as a blind person. And I am one of those people because I can't see the crosswalk. I can't see when it says walk, don't walk.
Yeah, we're just showing the clip in the middle, when we first meet her, that clip is. But in the end, she starts to like come out more as a blind person, and
she's-
does like a little thing for the other like people who work at the VA about blindness.
She's
and stuff.
actually leading workshops and seminars about blindness, and
Yeah, it's actually
live as a
most
blind
of
person.
our people do that in one way or another.
Joseph talks to a gentleman in New Jersey who works with a guide dog, and then realized that only a very, very small percentage of blind folks actually use dogs. And that's just crazy to him, because his dog really opened up his life and gave him a greater sense of mobility. So he runs a school for humans, and trying to get them
He works with
acclimated.
the seeing eye.
Yeah, that's it, the seeing eye, yeah. And he's trying to get them acclimated to life with a dog.
Yeah, or like convince them to get one.
Right, this is what it can feel like, to have a dog.
Though this was the saddest thing, is I was looking at all the updates for people, and his was that he was fired from Seeing Eye and is now suing them for sexual orientation discrimination.
Oh no.
Which is like really upsetting.
That is really awful. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Fucking sucks.
That
and
does
his story
fucking
was
suck.
like really awful. It was like, I just wish someone, like, because he was like, especially, and this was all in the past, but he like pushed back so hard on being a blind person, and like was like really, really depressed and like suicidal, and then I was just like, if you just had better, if we had like a better society, none of this had to happen. Like, you can still live a perfectly happy life as a blind person. Like, and he had been going blind his whole life, and so I mean, of course, for me, I was like, oh god, this is really hard to hear, because like that was what happened to me. It took them way too long to diagnose him, but he pushed back way more than I did, I think. But like, it was still just like, god, if we had a better society, he wouldn't have had to go through all that. But
well, and man, I wish it was easier to get dogs, because you hear stories, because you hear stories about people who don't work out with dogs, and it happens. Dogs aren't for everybody, but
also not every dog is
for every person. But we would have it would just be so much nicer if the process and the opportunities were easier, and were
and
there.
that that's like really like super upsetting. It makes me really concerned about at least that specific school, because that's fucked up.
Yes. Oh no, that's all kinds of fucked up. That's fuck, that is really awful.
Makes me really mad.
But I mean, it's, you have to jump through so many hoops. I'm not saying they should be handing out dogs like candy. Like, I think people should go through the training.
No, but it should be easier. It should be, I mean, I think it's just a lack of dogs. Like, it just takes a lot of money, and they're not funded by the government. They're just like and they also, because they're not funded by the government, that's probably why they like can do shit like do sexual orientation discrimination without that much repercussions. Like,
I mean, it's all
unregulated
private groups.
Fuck private groups. The government should just have any blind person, if they want a dog, should be able to access one. But no, that's not how our country works. It is depressing. I think it's like, wait, is it 1/10? I think he says how many, but 1/10 is the thing in my head.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But
so it's just such a small sliver of the blind population that has a dog or has access to. I mean, because especially,
it's also really prohibitive to train them. Like, because like you have to take 4 weeks off your life, and then like off your life. It's not how I meant to. I mean, a dog could technically add like 40 years on your life. Like, my grandfather died falling down a flight of stairs. He would be can give you a whole lot of years of life, definitely. So that's not what I mean at all. But like, you have to go away for 4 weeks. So like, it's weirdly like they just assume blind people don't have anything better to do, I think is probably what it is. But like, it doesn't make it easy for you to like train them, so you have to like have the time to be able to do it. It's like a really long wait list process, and like there's all these requirements. Like, you have to do mobility training already too, which is something that, because I didn't do, I would have to figure out.
Well, and there just are not that many schools in the country. I mean, there's especially, living in Alaska, I did know one or two. I knew a few people who had guide dogs.
Yeah.
But they got their dogs obviously not in Alaska.
Right, you
they
have to,
had
fly out somewhere.
And I don't know if the school pays for that.
I think they're supposed to.
That would be correct. I mean, that sounds.
Yeah. I mean, you never know in practice what things happen, but I believe they, from what I know about it, they do actually do that. But yeah, it is still like, it's really hard. I've been thinking more and more about wanting to get one, but it is just the process is really difficult.
Right.
To go
I mean,
through.
I want to start. I want to start the process now.
I was trying to. I need to give them a call because I was trying to fill out an application online, and then it kept saying it kept giving me an error, and then and then I had no idea what was going on, and there was all sorts of weird things with it. So I was like, I guess I have to call in, but it's just a bunch of hoops you gotta jump through, and it definitely makes it harder to get dogs. That would be a cool thing, but they fucking fired him, so
yeah. God, that's awful.
it's really upsetting.
It's just really terrible.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the updates were doing the same stuff, which was okay,
nice.
cool,
Yeah.
but then also such a sad makes me so mad. But yeah, it is really it's hard. It's interesting, that we had multiple people. We had two people who were blind teachers, actually, people who worked in blind, because we were Jessica Jones and him, and then we also have someone who works at the VA. So
Pat.
Yeah,
Pat, who works at the VA. Yeah.
But which I guess it's kind of cool to see some people with jobs, because it's not as common. But to see,
and I mean jobs that they love.
Yeah,
and they're jobs. They're doing jobs that are heightened, and they can do these jobs because of their disability.
Right, they're better at their jobs than an able person would be.
Mm-hmm.
But you still see so much discrimination in the real world, and I think some of the accessibility technology stuff, they talk a lot about it in different parts of the movie, which I like that part of it, because they do show different ways you can use a computer, and it's 2010, so I was like, it's all so 2010.
Oh, I know.
Everything is so 2010.
Look at all these. It's so antiquated and quaint.
But it's funny because it's mostly what's antiquated is when the screen is so big you can actually see the operating system. You're like, that looks old. But that's what looks old, is the things that are not blind related, is the operating systems are just big enough I could see them.
I not gonna lie, I couldn't help checking out that wall of CCTVs and just kind of salivating just a little bit.
I know, they're so expensive.
Give it to me. Yeah.
Luckily for me, the CCTVs are not helpful.
Oh God, I had one in college. It was wonderful. And I could do everything under that CCTV. I blew my vision teachers for a loop, because I can write under a CCTV. I can just put my paper and my pen and just look at the screen and just write things, and apparently that's really hard to do, and I'm like, I don't understand how hard it is. It's very simple.
Yeah, that's interesting. It seems like it would be hard because I am left-handed, so just cover up everything. Can left-handed people who can see, can they see what they're writing?
Yes, maybe. I don't know. I've never had to write left-handed before.
I've never been able to write right-handed, but I think left-handed people can't see what they're writing, so wouldn't make any difference to me. It's still not accessible.
But yeah, it was this big honking thing. I had to have a separate desk in my room for the CCTV, because it just took up so much space. And now I see the ones behind him, and they're so small. I mean, there's friggin' you can get pocket CCTV.
Wait, what's the point of it if they're small?
Well, they don't have such a big footprint.
But the screen is still big?
The screen is still big.
Okay.
And it still zooms in. Yeah.
Okay.
They're just, the footprint is smaller, which is what I would be looking for. Because I don't have the room for a CCTV to take up more than half my desk.
Yeah, but you still need the screen because for me, I need the screen to be so big to see anything. Yeah. So I'm like, it's always that weird thing of I don't have a lot of room and I don't want a fucking giant ass thing in my room, but at the same time, it's useless if it's not giant. So there's that trade off.
It was, oh my God, it was so nice. I read comic books. I read so many comic books. I read any book I wanted to read. I wrote. I did Yeah, I did everything. I mean, I read the entirety of Watchmen on my CCTV.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to do that. I looked at the first page and I was like, so no, never mind.
Yeah, no, it's
I'll watch
it's
the
very
HBO
difficult.
series in 10 years when it comes out, is what I said.
Yeah. Actually, there's a really great motion comic that I have.
CCTVs are too expensive, and the thing is, I can't. They are probably better for comics because of the way because having panels are a lot easier to view that way. I think that would probably be the one thing I would use them for. But like a book it's useless because like I can't track things. Like it's just so painful to even bother trying with that.
I could read longer and faster on a CCTV.
Right.
But we have different. Our eyes are different, so yeah.
But that makes sense. Yeah, for me, it would just like be so painful to try to read, honest, because I would be like, there's no book in the world that has a line short enough for me to look at it all at one time. Like I have to like look at a third of the line at most, basically, at one time. So I'm just like going back and forth with every line, and it's the most like painful and upsetting process. So I just like at a very young age, just like, no, I'm not gonna fucking do that.
Yeah, my CCTV in college broke anyway. It did not like being transported from Fairbanks to Anchorage.
They're so prohibitively expensive, and it's just like really frustrating because it's like both a captive market, but I'm also like, it's also a market that's like extremely unfairly underemployed. So I don't even know how they like.
I mean, that freaking device costs like $32,000, and I'm just like, there's no way we can afford to get one. Also, if you think about,
it's not that hard to make.
It's not that hard to make.
That hard.
No, it's a camera with a goddamn tray that moves underneath it and a screen.
Yeah, that's just bullshit.
That's all it is. Yeah.
I wish like there should be a law that just is like you have to make these cheap. I mean, we can't even do this with fucking like insulin. So I don't expect the U.S. to be able to like do this anytime soon. But like it's truly ableist that we don't have a law that's like you can't make this shit so expensive for people. It's like beyond a disabled tax. It's like, just robbery. It's disabled robbery.
Oh yeah.
It's just completely unfair.
Yeah.
And it should not be coming out of our pockets ever. But like, they're not that expensive to make, but we're a small enough group that people are like, well, if you want us to make it, we have to make it so expensive no one can really afford it. But yeah, it's really, really annoying. I'm
hoping that because he doesn't necessarily purchase one in the documentary, but I'm hoping that maybe now at least Joseph has one or is using one, has access to one.
They go to like the low vision. It's interesting. One of the arguments of the documentary is like we should have like eye doctors, it is true that they don't do this always, and they should, that eye doctors should be referring people out to low vision as much as they are to like specialists and stuff.
Well, because when he was taking Joseph around through his little tool area, and he's got like the keyboard caps, and Joseph is freaking out like, oh my god,
it looks bigger.
The keyboard, like how much does this cost? And he's just like, it's literally just stickers that I've put on a keyboard, like, and I'm just sitting there thinking, holy shit, he has no idea what a keyboard cover is or what keycaps are. Oh my god. But I didn't either. I didn't start using keycaps and keyboard covers until I was in high school.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know that was a thing.
Well, yeah, you don't have a lot of these things, but I think like I feel like at some point I was given those things, but one of the frustrating things for me was so many of them, I was like, how am I going to use this? Like, I actually didn't have that many experiences of like, oh, this really changes my life. Like, most of the stuff was like iPhone settings that really like, and I even knew about them, but I just felt before I was diagnosed, I felt weirdly judged about them, and so I didn't use them. And then when I was blind, I was like, yes, I'm going to turn on all the accessibility features. It's the best day of my life.
Yeah.
But like that was about it. I mean, like most of the stuff like didn't help at all, and it's like and it's really bizarre because I've been to stuff recently. Like recently, I went. More recently, not as a child, like in Portland, I was doing stuff with the Commission for the Blind, and I went to their like technology low vision specialist, and the guy was showing me all the different stuff, and I was like, yeah, it doesn't really work because I have no central vision. And he kept being like, yeah, these don't really work for people with no central vision. And in the end he was like, yeah, nothing that we have really is that helpful for people with no central, which I was like, thank you for like validating me here. But he was like, yeah, most people without central vision get annoyed with all of these and they don't help them. And so you are correct at this point to say that. And in the end it was just like, well, so there's not really anything that's helpful. And like that to me, I'm like, so I always, part of me is just like, why the fuck is that the case? Like, why is there nothing helpful to me? Like, it's mostly just like, I guess, talking stuff, but I don't need anything other than my phone to talk to me.
Right.
Like, what would I need? Like, I don't have things that I can see. Like, my phone has the time. Like, you know, what are the talking things?
I've memorized most of the stuff I use by feeling anyway. Like, yes,
Right, exactly.
I'm using talking and voice more than I used to, because it's there and it
Me too.
makes everything easier. But I mean, I don't have keyboard caps on my computer. My computer keyboard actually lights up on its own anyway.
Right.
And I've just, by, you know, feeling and by living with keyboards all my life, I know where all the keys are.
Right, exactly. I just learned how to type.
Yeah, like I'm still a slow ass typer, but I know where all
me
the
too.
keys are. Yeah, so I'm not necessarily using that anymore, and I have a little collection of magnifying glasses that I do use every so often. But as far as comics now and reading books, I'm either going to try and find it in large print, or I'm going to find it in an audiobook.
Right, exactly. Just audiobooks.
Right, and comics, I've just fully moved over to reading digital. As much as, like, totally support your brick and mortar comic shops, because you should, but digital comics just make so much more sense for me. They're so much more easier to read.
Well, and this is also kind of a weird thing that bothers me, is it's like I don't know what the answer is, but it gets me sad that we don't get to support local shops. Like, and I don't know what the answer is, but I'm just sad about it. Like, it's just like it's a very depressing thing.
The answer is usually comic shops have really cool merch. So go buy some
there
merch.
you go,
Yeah. Go buy
true.
something, or,
but it's just,
you know, a gift for
but
somebody.
it's also like when you're reading, I mean, you want authors to be able to get the money from the things you're buying somehow.
Yes.
But I think there's just, I want there to be like, now that I have Olivia, I've been thinking a lot about this, but like there should be other ways where we get to support those same businesses, because it's like a weird thing of just like, it feels really good to get to help out a local business, and there's not, and like I think it is just more healthy for our society, but then and we talk about this, but then there's never a real discussion of like, okay, but like how do disabled people who don't have the option get to do that? Like, how do we make it easier also for disabled people as a society? But that kind of involves like, as a really holistically as a society, as making that a priority, which is obviously not what's happening even remotely right now. So that's part of the problem. But I don't know, it's just been making me sad, because it's also like just thinking about supporting local businesses right now is just such an important issue to think about. And I'm like, you know, with food we can do that, but like it is kind of sad that we can't support local businesses when it comes to books, like comics and reading and stuff like that, because I don't know, it's just, I don't know what the answer is, but it makes me want a different system, or just like, or I don't know, just like I want this stuff, these issues to be more common, so that there are alternatives and that there is ways we can still support our community.
Yeah, I mean, because I want to support, and I'm sure there are loads of disabled people who would love to support, and it would just be nice to have our existence acknowledged in these things. I mean, we're disabled and we love comics. I'm disabled and I love video games, but that community is so hard to get into. I mean, for women also, but
right, yeah.
When
you're a disabled woman, blind woman, right?
When you want to be involved and communicate with this community that has no desire to acknowledge your existence and will never do that,
or at least won't now.
Right. I mean, I was thinking, and some of it is just so little tweaks that could be added, you know, make it so that your game can have larger text. I mean, for me, that's really the only thing.
Well, so read everything. Have a way to read every single text thing.
Right.
Don't rely on text.
If your game isn't voice acted, which it should be, but if it isn't, I don't care if it's a mechanical voice. But if I could have the text read to me, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I wish games had audio description.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Could you imagine fighting a boss fight and, I don't know, if you're playing like Legend of Zelda or whatever, like Ganondorf approaches Link with like a uppercut or from the right or something, and you as a player could know, okay, that's what's coming. I have time to plan for that.
There should be like those super old school RPG games on the computers that are all text. They should just do that.
Text adventures, yeah.
Yeah, they should just do that with only voice, and then you have like buttons like that you can like 4 buttons for a choice.
Well, that's so one of my blind friends that I made at summer camp, he loved text adventures because he could get his computer to read it to him.
Oh,
and so
nice.
That's just how he played. So he introduced me to the Hitchhiker's Guide text adventure, which is
that's what my
fabulous.
mom would always play.
Yeah,
I think
it's a great game.
One of my parents.
It's
probably my
so
mom.
good.
She loves Hitchhiker's Guide.
So good.
Yeah.
But that's a game you could totally play. There's another studio. I don't know if they still exist because this is years when I found out about them. But there's another gaming studio called Audio Adrenaline that is specifically making games for blind people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. I think it is also like there's that kind of combination of like segregating shouldn't be the end result, but it should be that we have games that are made specifically for us, but also we have games that are audio described.
But that are just accessible.
Yeah, just making all games accessible for people who want to play them. But like so few things are accessible. It's not seen as a priority. There's no requirements at all, so people don't feel like they have to do anything. And I think the more people feel like I feel like people don't want to admit to themselves that they've kind of, just by complete lack of trying, discriminated against groups of people like really severely. And so I think part of people are just like, if we acknowledge that our games aren't accessible now, it's like it keeps them open for guilt, like and so I think some people just want it to not be the like. They just don't want it to be true, and so they don't want to acknowledge it because they don't want to make it real. It's like it's that kind of weird psychological thing of just like it's so bad, and I think people just don't. I think also able people who don't know disabled people don't really want to know how bad it is, or at least it's like psychologically good for them to like avoid knowing how bad it is for us, because I've heard like the amount of things I've heard people say about disabled people. I'm like, oh my god, I want to live in the magical fairy world you live in, that this is the case. I want to live in the world where the government is giving me like $2,000 and I'm getting to like watch movies when I want to, and like just the kinds of shit people think we get to do in society. I'm like, why would that be like? It's hard to just tell someone who's able, the world is a terrible place.
Right. Well, and people who are doing things just don't care enough or don't want to try to make whatever product they're putting out accessible. Yeah. When sometimes it's just a few little tweaks that could happen, that could be made.
Yeah, it's really like, and I mean, we'd rather something than nothing, obviously.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, yeah. But I mean, I remember the game that my friend and I were lamenting because he really wanted to play it, was the Phoenix Wright series. And it's a visual novel, so it's basically all text. There are still operations that you have to perform in the game, but it's basically it's just text, and it's just funny. You play a lawyer in a courtroom, basically. That's fun. And there are just like these funny characters that you have to cross-reference or cross-examine, and you've got the prosecutor and the judge. Anyway, they're really fun games, but they could be so easily adapted for someone with low vision or who was blind.
Yeah, wait, does my sister play these, I think? What are they called again?
Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney.
Ace Attorney.
I love these games.
My sister loves Ace Attorney so much.
Fun. Yeah.
Yes. But they're not accessible. Yeah, I've talked to Winter about this, and she's been like, you can't.
There's no way.
I would have to radio everything, and it'd be annoying.
There's no way. And then you have games like the Telltale games, which I love, and these are the games that the mechanics of the game requires you to make choices, and it's all the games have dialogue in them, and they're all voice acted, obviously, but the choices aren't read to you, and you have like 10 seconds to make a choice.
Oh my god, really?
So I'm just like, and so all that could be required is just make
Just
it so
read
that the choices are read.
And don't make it so quick that we have to decide. We have to take time.
Before
like
we can
it's
read
crypt
it.
time, guys. Like that's actually, I think crypt time is another, like, I think that's a very under acknowledged, like, ableist, structural ableism manifestation, is like crypt time is super real. And like when you don't accommodate things on the level of time, like you are actually being ableist and you don't get a pass for like it being sort of like hard to know that that's like, it's just like anything where it's speedy, like you got it, like fucking tests that are like time censored ones. I'm like, no, that's just deeply ableist. It just you should never have a time requirement. Like we are giving up extra time that able people get. Like it's already a structural and like it's inequality that we don't have the same amount of time as able people, like, and that affects our lives. But don't make it fucking worse. Like, you can do so much to not make it worse. Just don't have a fucking time limit on anything. Yes. Anyway, don't want to rant for too much.
Yeah, no, that felt good. We haven't had a tangent in quite some time.
I mean, it's a documentary, so I feel like it's hard because it's like a lot of the stuff is about, and it's interesting. It was like 11 years ago. Has anything changed?
Well, I can't say for sure, but I would like to look up the study that's mentioned at the end with the mice. So we have doctors who are injecting.
It's so depressing to think that's the thing that is developed.
I hope it isn't, but I hope it's not the only thing. Sorry, but we are trying to basically regrow optic nerves.
Yeah,
essentially,
that's fucking creepy as shit, man.
Oh yeah, it's super weird.
And just really traumatic for people who were born with vision loss or lost their vision at an early age, to like have that be something hanging over them, something that they truly would not want. But like, it's like, what are those horrible surgeries for like weight related, what are they?
Oh, gastric bypass?
Yeah. Though it's like, it feels like that to me. It's just like such a abusive thing, and like it's like using society's prejudices to like hurt people for no good reason. And that's what that surgery feels like to me. So the idea that that is what has been gotten better is very depressing.
Well, I'm just speculating.
I think you're right though, and I don't think there's anything else that's developed more. I mean, like the accessibility stuff is the same now.
Well, and you know, things like you said, iPhones and tablets and things are much more prevalent now than they were in 2010.
That's true, but they existed in 2010.
They did, yeah. But,
and the accessibility features was back when Apple was still caring in 2010. So there was like almost, I think we were more optimistic. We didn't realize it was only going to get worse from there. But yeah, I mean, I think like some of the characters, I always do that with the documentaries. Some of the people, I think, the internalized ableism, there just wasn't like an idea of disability rights at all, or like that it is an identity and a community, which is that still the case though, is what part of the problem. I'm like, if I went to Southern California, it's exactly like this it's not changed. Like I grew up there, and so sometimes I think like, oh well, it's actually changed because I moved to Portland when I was an adult, and then all of a sudden things gotten better when I became an adult / when I moved to Portland. And then and then I go back to LA and I was like, oh no, so literally nothing changed other than where I live. Like that is what changed. Like people in Portland, obviously there's still a lot of ableism. It's just like it is so much more aggressive and harmful and painful in Southern California, and that has not changed one bit. So I don't know what to say about that. Like, and it's kind of sometimes shocking to me because I always want to think it's like time went by, but it's not at all. Like time didn't seem to go by at all. But like I don't know. It's sad. I mean, this is. Before we started recording, I was like, I don't want to get too depressing, and then I just so I don't know. But I don't know. How do we turn this around, do you think? I don't want to make you be the one who has to decide, but you have to figure it out.
I think in the end, it was really refreshing and wonderful to see just a bunch of blind folks doing what they do and being awesome and not being perfect and figuring it out.
Yeah.
And coming to terms with who they are and learning to love that. And even at the end, you know, Joseph doesn't know what's in store for him in the future. He doesn't know, but now he knows that it's not the end. There are ways that he can cope. There are things in his life he's going to have to change, but doesn't have to be a big old ordeal.
Right. And it's not like, I think in the beginning it kind of feels like it's just like the idea of going blind is like, you know, death or something, you know, like it just feels like so existentially,
yeah,
is that right? Yeah, I don't know why it sounded wrong, threatening to him. And I think that that's something that like, even, I think that's something at one point that Jessica Jones pushes back on about how, like, that it's not, that it can be hard, but it's also like it's not the end of the world. Like, calm down. Like, I don't remember exactly what she says, but there's a bit of her being like, it's, you know, you get used to it. Oh my God, the thing that she says about like people not. It's so hard not to play clips.
So play a clip. It's fine. It's fine. This is
such a clip episode.
I know, but everybody in this has some really good stuff to say.
Yeah, it's hard because I'm like, I want to, like, I feel like doing verbatim is not gonna do it justice.
Yeah,
this is what you get when you just interview a bunch of blind adults. We fucking say really great stuff all the time.
My dog Sam doesn't realize that Chef is working, but I'm more conscious now.
They go inside.
And I wonder what I would want to know if I'd lost my sight. There's a staircase to your left, right here. And then...
Felt that.
Okay, so there's a hallway here, heading straight to the kitchen. There's a dining room to your right.
Okay.
Do you want to take my arm?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Let me do that as we walk through.
Okay. I realize I've never had a blind person in my home before, and quite frankly, it shames me. Why not? I've known and liked blind people in my life. Why haven't I pursued those friendships? See, this is a painting that might be interesting to you. Was it my own discomfort at not knowing anything about their world? Or is our fear of blindness so great that we fear the blind themselves?
Jessica feels a painting.
So I'm wrong. It's actually Joseph who says the thing about us fearing the blind themselves, which is kind of a weird, I don't know.
No, I think I kind of get it, though. I mean,
no, I definitely get it.
Yeah, it's... I don't think my parents have ever been afraid of me personally, but I know they've been afraid for me. And I mean, I didn't assimilate into blind friend groups or blind culture until I was in middle school. I had no idea there were people like me out there.
Yeah.
So it became, oh my God, I'm so different, to, oh wow, I can be different with these people over here together.
Right. Yeah, that was a big difference for me. Sadly, it was when I was 21 that happened. I mean, I definitely felt that, especially in Southern California. I don't think, because, yeah, the life of a blind Southern Californian is deeply depressing, and it's truly an abusive place to live as a blind person for so many reasons. But, like, it is, I think I did feel like, oh, like, people are afraid of blindness to such an extent that I did feel like I was like ostracized for that, like, and then I was treated differently because people were afraid to become blind.
I think it's a question of a fear of interpretation. A blind person and a sighted person experience the world in completely different ways, and so there's just so much empty space. There isn't very many things to latch onto. And that's something that a way that a sighted person might feel. I mean, it's hard. You know, you are having a conversation with someone. Oh, you know, I've read the latest book by, you know, James Patterson, or yeah, did you see that TV show last night? And it's like, no. And then it can get awkward. It doesn't necessarily have to, but it can be really daunting to get along with a blind person. I'm here to tell you that it's daunting to get along with sighted people too.
Yeah, it's more obnoxious.
Yeah. And
I mean, especially the ones that are not understanding of, like, you can't, which there's a lot of people in Southern California, but not to harp on that too much. But yeah, like, I think that it could be really, I think because of those reasons, if someone's just not willing to, like, understand how you interact with the world and I mean, everyone interacts with the world differently, which is what I don't understand. It's like, it's just a difference. And like, if you want to have people in your life, to some extent, you have to accommodate differences. It's just like, we say some differences are acceptable and some are not. Like, and I think that that's the thing that always bothered me, is it's like, it's not any harder to be my friend than it is anyone else. Like, everyone has their weird things. Like, it's not, that's a part of being a human being. And so like, to basically, because society is oppressive to certain differences, that is the problem. And then what happens is, because people are so afraid of having society be so oppressive to them, they then become afraid of you. and then you're like, I'm fucking already dealing with society. Why you gotta do this too? But I think, like, that's part of what made me sad, though, because I felt like Joseph was, like, this is an anxiety that I always had, what he said. But he was coming from a sighted person's perspective. Like, he was looking at himself as a sighted person, now as a blind person, and crossing over. And, like, there's part of me that was like, I always wanted that assumption I made that people were afraid of me because they're afraid of blindness. I didn't want that to be true. And so that to have this person who's just a sighted person who's just starting to become blind to justify, to say that is the correct thing. It is, it's depressing. Like, I think because there's always like part of me that's like, yeah, it's just a weird distortion that blind people make, like, because we don't want it to, because it explains things. But it's like, I don't know, it's more depressing to think of it as true. And it feels like he has some authority in that.
But I mean, I've had friends who are blind and they're really lovely people, but I've never had a blind person over to my home. So where do you hang out at? I mean, yeah, sure, you can go to like restaurants and coffee shops, and and go to museums or whatever you want to do. But I just don't think of these things because I've never had someone like that in my home, and it's just. It's weird. Kind of weird and weird and
like there's like
a
distance that you're keeping blind friends at. But then
right. I mean, you have to help them orientate to your home. Right. So what? That's it's not a huge deal. I mean, when I helped out a friend and sublet his apartment for a couple of months, he brought me in and gave me an entire tour of his apartment. I mean, just the most in-depth, detailed tour. Showed me the kitchen, showed me how everything worked, showed me the bathroom, showed me where everything was.
This is a very American thing anyway. Just live in America. Americans just do this.
Yeah. Well, he's a very sweet person.
But yeah, it's not that hard. And it's like every blind person is going to be different how much they need that too. And so it's just like part of having conversations with people, which is also like, I don't know, when you want to have a conversation about someone's like, I don't know, their world. Isn't that the point of having a diverse friend group? It's like getting that opportunity. Yeah. Well, and like we're giving you a gift by doing this, honestly.
And maybe he might have been afraid that he would come off as condescending. When my friend did that for me with his apartment, I thanked him and I was like, you did that whole thing, but you also didn't condescend at all, which was amazing. That's
and you
incredible.
Can also just say like, hey, what kind of things would be helpful to tell you about?
Yes. Yeah.
And like how detailed. I mean, it also doesn't have to be like serious. You could just be kind of jokey about it also. Right. Like it's like we don't
fun.
Most blind people don't take serious. We're not like, this is serious business. We need to know where the things in your house. It's just like it's just a normal part of life. Like it does not have to be some sort of sacred weird thing where you're like performing for us or something. You could just like we're still just like people who are just in a new place. It's not, I don't know, it just seems like low stakes as well. So the idea of not having a friend for that reason is kind of silly. But yeah. Well, do we want to do our blindness acuity?
I think so. Yeah. I think we've reached that point.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I am giving Going Blind a 2600.
Nice.
Just super high up, as high as you can go. This is a really great documentary. It's very informative. It's very interesting. It was really fun to watch. I mean, and it was something that I would totally be fine showing a sighted person or showing a blind person. I think that's the really cool thing about this documentary, is because it is a sighted person going blind and going from one's perspective to another. It kind of lives in the gray area.
Yeah.
And that's how I describe my vision, is it's the gray area. I'm not blind enough to be considered totally blind, but I'm not sighted enough to be fully sighted.
You're like 90% of blind people.
Yeah. So not unique at all. But
yeah, so you're the same as all of us.
Hey, yeah.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I mean, it's just a very well done piece.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna give it a 2200.
Okay.
I mean, it is about going blind. So I think there is, to me, I felt like the fact that he still had one foot in the sighted world is probably why I'm closer to like just legal blindness, which, is pretty good, better than a lot of the movies I give. I think that like it is obviously because you're getting actual blind people to talk about the experience of being blind, it's gonna ring a lot truer than a lot of the things we watch. I think that is definitely a good strength for it. I think, there's some stuff that, like, I think he just was so concerned about getting the vision back and like kind of the way that it's pathologized. And I think that stuff, like, the more we can just get as far away from that as possible, the better. Like, I think that not to say that like people who do that stuff should not be part of our community, but I think that it should like not be something that is so central to the community, because it feels very like more of an oppressive structure that, if anything, I would want to help save people from more than anything else, to be perfectly honest.
It shouldn't be something that we're always striving for.
Definitely not. And it should be as peripheral as possible, like to the point that I can barely see it.
I can't see it at all.
And you definitely can't see it. Yeah. But I think that like it is something that I felt so bad for him, honestly, like, because he's just not, until he stops trying to fight it, he's never going to get to be fully step into blindness. And that's sad. Like, I did feel just sad, like, for him, because it's like, to fight for vision, and it's a losing battle, and it is it's like their Rocky War or something. It's just like you've already lost that you started, and then also it will drag on forever, and there will just be so much sadness throughout the whole thing, and in the end you'll be like, why did we do this? Why did we just not do this? That's my perfect metaphor.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So I think, like, in a lot of the medical stuff, I wish that was less central, because I think the people that he interviewed are really great, and I want to see them more. Wanted to get more time seeing them, and also maybe seeing him adapt in a way. I think I think also get more excited about stories of people who are blind and are doing their things, and I think that sometimes in media we focus way too much on like going blind, which I guess you can't fault it. It's what it says on the tin, but I'd rather see more stuff about being blind. But still 2200. It's definitely not harmful to blind people, or like perpetuating that many problematic things at all. I think it comes out pretty decently, and I guess if you're showing it to eye doctors, it's better than what they are now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, so that's it's going blind, I think. I think we did it.
Yeah, we did it.
Yes. Okay. So now, then the last thing we're gonna do is what we were blindsided by. Here, I'll go first.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm doing another podcast this week.
Ooh.
Doing the podcast The Cut, that is part of the New York Magazine umbrella, but it is hosted now by Avery Trufelman from 99% Invisible, which is another
very
great
cool.
podcast.
I love that. Yes.
Which I started listening to them back when they were like at Gimlet, and like had a host who I was trying to find the name of, but I couldn't find before recording. But it's just it's a feminist kind of part of the magazine online, but they have a podcast, and it's just a lot of cool I don't know, feminist, very New York. What I'm like, what are words today? I don't know. I just like I really like Avery Trufelman. It was a really cool podcast. Again, also they do a lot of interviews with like cool women in all sorts of different fields, and they had like an episode on dick pics, but they also do episodes about like running for office, and I don't know. Those are some of the spectrum of things that you'll get.
Love it.
But yeah, it's a great podcast, so check it out.
Yeah, I'll do that. Definitely.
What are you blindsided by?
So I've got a show today, a TV show. And I finally actually started to catch up with it because I'd watched an episode here and there, but last night I just binged it and I was having such a good time. It's the show Close Enough on HBO Max. It's streaming on HBO Max. This is the other show created by what are words? Yes. This is another show created by the same creator who did Regular Show.
Oh.
And whereas that show was kind of about people in their, well, not necessarily people, it was about a blue jay and a beaver. I can never remember what the other character was, but anyway, that show is about like your 20s and figuring out who you are and blah 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 blah. And this show is directly aimed at a lot of us who are coming of age now. This is about 30-year-olds, and yeah, so it's about Josh and Emily and their daughter Candace, and the life that they are trying to get through, basically just daily struggles. This show, I've just had multiple times I've reacted, oh my God, this show totally gets me. I mean, there's this wonderful sequence when Candace goes off to a sleepover or whatever, and the parents are like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And you think, oh, they're going to party or they're going to have sex or whatever. And it's just this montage of them like running errands and being awesome and like doing laundry. And then, instead of like spending the night together or whatever, they actually do their taxes. But it's so exciting, and it's set to like the song Turn Down for What. And it just encapsulates, like, I'm not married, but there's so many times when this show has just encapsulated my experience as a 33-year-old person. And I'm like, oh my God, fine. Yes. The show totally understands. It gets me. The humor is sweet, and the characters are, it feels like hanging out with a bunch of old friends and just laughing with them.
You've sold me.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's probably one of my favorite cartoons that I've watched this year, honestly.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, so that's Close Enough, and it's streaming on HBO Max.
Nice. Awesome. We did an episode.
Yay!
Oh, what are we doing next week, Melissa?
Oh, yeah. We are doing that classic 90s Disney movie next week. Mr. Magoo, starring the late, the great Leslie Nielsen. I'm sure it will have just the most accurate repretation of a visually impaired person.
It's gonna be like Quest for Camelot, actually.
Oh,
probably.
Yeah. more than likely.
No, but probably way more offensive. But you'll have to find out. Maybe we're like, whoa, Mr. Magoo, the best portrayal of blindness we've ever seen.
I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna say I don't want to give spoilers, but the likelihood of that is almost zero. Mm-hmm. I think it's probably negative.
More than likely.
Yeah. But tune in next week. Find out. Our theme song is by Lucia Fasano. Our YouTube is Citizen White Cane Podcast. Our Twitter is White Cane Pod. Our Instagram is Citizen White Cane. And our Facebook is also Citizen White Cane. You can send us an email at citizenwhitecanepod@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voice message, there's a link in the show notes. What do you do? Can you write on a CCTV, or what like weird things can you do on a CCTV?
Are you blind and ride a bike? If you are, we want to talk to you.
Yeah. Have you been doing a million surgeries for your eyesight, and where are you at in that journey? How do you feel about it? Any of those things, there's a link in the show notes. And from Going Blind, we're gonna come this very sweet documentary about real people in New York City. We're gonna come back next week and we're gonna do Mr. Magoo. We'll see you then.
Oh God.
Bye.
Bye.